Wednesday, November 8th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review Trigun.
Let's do this. So before I even woke up this morning, it was raining. And when I left the house, it was raining. And all day during work, it was raining. And when I got home, still raining. And now, I'm not sure, but it might still be raining.
It in fact is, for I just looked out the window.
Holy crap.
It took me over an hour and a half to drive home because many of the freeways going out of New York City flooded. And I drove through more than 6 inches of standing water on multiple occasions.
Yeah, it took me an extra 15 minutes to a half hour to get home.
In fact, at one point, I ran a red light on purpose because I was sitting at an intersection in about several inches of water. And I don't know what was happening up the road, but kind of suddenly this small deluge of water is slowly approaching me, and it's a significant amount of water that was probably going to put part of my car underwater that shouldn't have been underwater.
Uh-oh.
So I just kind of gunned it and went into the intersection and went on my way.
That was a good move.
Yeah. Like, the level of water was rising very noticeably and quickly.
Yeah, what made it kind of worse, but kind of better was the fact that since it's not daylight savings time anymore, we set the clocks back, it was dark, like halfway through home.
See, that's just terrible.
I kind of like
Why?
darkness, but it did make my drive getting home longer.
See, why do you like darkness? I would love the sun to be out at every moment that I'm awake during the day.
Because it hurts my eyes?
Okay, so you're just a wuss.
No, because it hurts my eyes.
So you're just a wuss? You don't like it to be sunny outside? You just want it to be eternal night? Like a vampire or a fungus?
If it was warm out, hell yeah.
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 Yeah, well, you're the one who doesn't like to go on hikes or anything, so I guess I can say it.
Whatever. All right. What kind of news is going on besides weather?
Well, I figure since this will be the last time we'll have to talk about it for a long time,
A year?
I note in the news that the Democrats in America took control of the House of Representatives, and it is 99% likely that they also took control of the Senate.
You know what this proves to me? That all that stuff about voting machines being rigged and mass conspiracies was not quite as true as it seemed. That the voting machines are just crappy.
Oh, yeah, the voting machines are just kind of dick, and I think Diebold should be held accountable.
Yeah,
But
they're not cheating to, make one side or the other win. They're just bad.
though I have to admit, I'm kind of 50-50 on how the results went, even though the evil Sue Kelly has not only been booted from our congressional district, but the guy we didn't back at all, but we voted for anyway, now that I've learned more about his history, he's pretty awesome, and I retroactively endorse John Hall.
Yeah, I still don't know anything about John Hall.
I mean,
other than he was the alternative to the bitch Sue Kelly.
See, I read about his policies and I liked him, but now I read about his history and who he was, and he's a pretty awesome dude.
Yeah? How awesome is he?
He's fairly awesome. He did some writing for rock bands. He was in some rock bands. He was
Wait, so we have a rock and roll guy as our House representative?
Why, yes, we do.
That's kind of crazy. He doesn't look like a rock and roll guy. He looks like a bald, tall, jolly man.
He's not bald. He's balding.
Oh, okay.
He is really smiley.
It looks like, even if he's balding, he totally shaves his head.
He's tall, and he has a really, really big hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like he was crouching down way. Like he must have been kneeling in one of these pictures I saw where he was with a bunch of old people.
But, like I said, I'm kind of 50-50 on how the elections went, because on one hand, I wanted America to kind of reject this whole neoconservative thing. But at the same time, the neoconservatives have gotten America into quite a bit of a quagmire over there in the great sovereign nation of Iraq, occupying it at all. And I have to say, part of me really kind of wanted them to stay in power so that they'd have to deal with this mess.
Well, I think what's going to happen is if the Democrats don't fix it pretty quick, relatively quickly, and say, 4 to 6 years, then we're going to see people go, hey, you didn't fix it. And they'll go right back to the Republicans again.
Yeah, or maybe they'll go toward, a different political party. My dark horse is that Howard Dean and Al Gore and all those cool Democrats, not the generic milquetoast Democrats, but the ones who actually are doing some kind of vocal and crazy things, will band together and break away from the Democratic Party or form some sort of internal Democratic schism where you'll have people who lean not necessarily to the left, but definitely not to the right.
Yeah, you keep dreaming about your crazy whatnots
What?
there.
I just want fiscally conservative, socially liberal, intelligent.
I want fiscally conservative, socially liberal, non-libertarians.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
Except
That's
for
pretty
judicial
much-
positions. I want libertarians in every judicial position there is.
A Supreme Court full of libertarians. That'd be kind of crazy.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be stupid crazy.
Yeah.
They'd be letting everyone off the hook. Like almost everyone.
I think a lot of people should be let off the hook.
I do too, but not that many people.
Which is going to come up because I was called up today for jury duty.
Man, you know what that would do? That would make lawyers so pissed, prosecutors at least, because they would never get anyone in jail. Libertarian judge would just be like, oh, whatever. Let them go.
Not really, because the libertarians...
Well, there are juries, so yeah, but
the libertarians are also for a lot of laws. At least many of them.
some of them.
But yeah, I was called up for jury duty. And
All right, you just got a jury duty letter today.
I'll bet money to our listeners out there, though, depending on where you live, it may or may not be legal for you to actually bet money, but that I will not be allowed to serve on any jury.
Gee, I wonder why.
Huh.
Could it have something to do with you going in and saying, I know about jury nullification, don't let me be here anymore, I want to go home?
I think even if I didn't do that, I have a feeling that in any sort of examination to determine juries in some sort of jury selection process would involve asking me questions out of which my mouth would come. I wanted to use a weird sentence like that. Answers that bordered on sarcastic, possibly sardonic, maybe a little bit snippy.
A big old can of salty sardines.
I can't imagine many questions that they could ask me in jury selection that would not get an answer that nobody in the room wanted to hear.
What's your name? Where do you live? What kind of car do you drive?
You see, the
How
first
long
question...
did it take you to get here?
The first question involves a lot of stories until they make me shut up. The second question is complicated because I still have a lot of ties to Michigan.
Whatever. That's you and your loose interpretations of simple questions.
Well, plus they wouldn't ask me stuff like that. They already asked all that in the mail.
I know. I'm just giving examples.
They're going to ask me things like, how do you feel about blah? And I'll tell them exactly how I feel about blah.
All right.
In excruciating detail.
Okay, so let's get back to the geekiness instead of the politicness.
Yeah, we're done with politics unless something interesting happens in the next while.
Probably not gonna.
Well, the thing is, we already know that Rumsfeld stepped down, and I just don't feel like talking about it, so...
It's not much to say.
Nah.
Anyway. Best Buy, the store that I don't like that much, but I don't hate as much as Walmart, is selling imported Nintendo DS games.
Hot damn, Best Buy plus plus.
Yep. If you go to Best Buy, there's a good chance you will be able to buy Jump Superstars and or what's the Naruto game called? Naruto something 4.
You could have just said the Naruto game.
No, because there's a whole bunch of Naruto games and only selling one specific one.
Whatever.
Naruto Saikyo Ninja Daiketsu.
Is it a fighting game?
I have no clue.
I'll bet it's a fighting game.
It very well could be.
See, I remember when I went to a lot of anime cons earlier in the year that everyone had DSs. I mean, everyone had DSs, but almost all of those people were playing these imported games.
Yep. I just wanted to continue, what I was talking about yesterday with Earthbound and how the stupid companies don't bring games over here. But yet, Best Buy, just about the most mainstream video game selling place you can get after Walmart, is importing games and selling them for $50. Not 40 or 30 like normal DS games sell for, but 50, and people are probably buying them. A lot of people are probably buying them.
Well, it's like when Walden Books started selling raw Japanese manga.
Yeah, so the question is now, it's even dumber for them not to bring something over like Earthbound, Mother 3, and call it Earthbound DS or whatever, because not only would it sell, but you could sell it for $50. Because all the people who really want it, and everyone else doesn't even know about it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you really don't even have to localize these games, and they'll still sell.
Well, Earthbound you need to localize, but
Yeah.
Jump Superstars, you don't need to localize that. There's barely any text.
You can't localize
All you
10
need
games.
to localize is the instruction books so people know how to freaking play.
No one even looks at instruction books anymore.
Yeah, apparently there's a sticker on these games in the store that says, these are imported games. Don't worry, they work with your American DS. Go to importfacts.com to get information.
Huh.
So I went to importfacts.com, and there's a really crappily made standard, it looks like a cookie cutter website that has a picture of a DS and a picture of a PSP, which makes me think, maybe they're going to import some PSP games.
What PSP games are coming out in Japan that aren't coming out here that people care about?
I have no idea, because if I click on the PSP, it just says coming soon. And if I click on the DS, it says Naruto 4 Jump Superstars. So, whatever. And there's barely any information about the games there. There's like a short blurb that describes the game in only, the most back of the book kind of way.
Yeah, that's fine, because anyone who's going to buy something like that is already knowing everything they need to know about it.
Yeah, and there's a little form you can fill out to ask questions about the game. But I think they're actually putting this out there in the holiday season is a really good idea, because a lot of parents go to this. Like, I've seen parents with or without their kids shopping for video games at the store. And, they don't read video game magazines. They don't know what games came out. They just look at the covers and the backs of the games and pick one out.
I have often explained to parents at video game stores what the difference was between a Game Boy and a DS.
Yeah. So when they see Jump Superstars and Naruto whatever 4, all they do is they look at the package and they'll see the characters that their kid likes on the package and they'll pick that up. So, and there aren't too many Naruto, Dragon Ball, Jump Superstar type games out in the US to, also have those characters on them.
Things of the day. This is some scary shit that I got right here for you. So we were talking a while ago about
It can't be that scary.
nothing scares people anymore. At least nothing scares us. No media is genuinely frightening anymore. The closest thing being H.P. Lovecraft.
But I guess if you showed me a real live surgery of someone,
That's not
with like all their
scary.
guts cut open, it's not scary, but it makes me all queasy.
Really?
Yep.
Doesn't
That's
bother
like the
me.
only thing that gets me in any way. Like if you start describing surgeries or talking about deadly illnesses in detail, like I'll get all queasy.
Really?
Yeah, that's the only way to get me.
You know,
at
that
all.
explains it, because every now and then when I've brought up diseases or things randomly in conversations, I never really put two and two together.
I've told you this before.
Yeah, but I never realized that when I was describing diseases that you were thinking about that sort of thing. I always figured I'd have to show you a guy's beating heart on YouTube.
No, it's like I always imagine myself getting cut open or something. I'm like, ooh. Like I watched that video with the guy's bicep exploding, which is not my thing of the day.
Good.
But, man, I was like,
No,
I had to close it.
I've seen a far more horrible video
I'm sure there's plenty
of a
them.
weightlifter who had something else explode.
Oh, yeah.
If
See,
I were that guy...
that actually, it's weird because something like that won't really bother me. It's only when it gets medical. It's like, because this guy...
No, it was medical, because then they were trying to figure out how to help this guy.
See, that's when I would have gotten all queasy. But it's like if someone's gets their head blown off with a rocket, I'm cool for some reason. I don't know why. But then if a doctor tries to reattach the body part that got blown off, then I'm all like, ew, ew.
See, you want to know what's really interesting?
Even though it should be the opposite.
Seeing something bad happen, a video or anything, never bothers me. It'll bother me in a logical way. That's horrible, but I don't feel disgusted or, I don't feel any sort of visceral effect. And I don't cry or anything. But if I see other people reacting to something, that sets me off. So if something tragic happens and I see it, I just think, oh, that was tragic. But if I see other people reacting to it, I'll get choked up. It's really kind of strange, and I was thinking about this actually yesterday while I was driving home.
The other thing is, if I see a video of someone getting their guts ripped open by, say, a bear, I'll be all good. But if I see someone in person, I'm standing right there, and I see a guy get mauled by a bear, then I'll probably be all vomity.
You can't be a bear.
No. All right, what are the things of the day?
All right, so this video, I'm not even going to bother telling you how I found this. And I don't know if any of you have seen it or not. I haven't seen it around the internet. I might dig it or something just so other people can see this business. It's a video done in the 60s to teach people how to ride a bicycle safely. Now, that might not seem so scary. You might expect it to be one of those 60s, if you turn left without signaling, you'll die. And then, gory scenes of teenagers being killed. Because that was the style of the times with the onions and everything.
The onion on the belt.
Yeah.
It's the style of the time, you understand.
It is one of those videos.
In 1957 or 58.
Except the intention, or the intent, if I may.
If you will.
This video is one of those, except, now I'm just going to describe it, and then I'll keep giving you more details. Everyone is dressed up as a monkey.
Wait, what's the title of the video?
One got fat.
What does that have to do with bike safety?
I'll get to that.
All right.
Because I wondered that too until I watched the whole video. It was kind of almost a Hitchcock twist ending, except it was a lame, non-Hitchcock at all twist ending.
So it was corny.
It was one of those, I see what you did there.
Okay.
So it's one of those videos, but everyone's dressed up like a monkey. When I say dressed up like a monkey, I mean there are normal people who have these basically steel, windy tails. Looks like bent-up rebar sticking out of their butts.
How did they attach it to their butt?
It's like stuck to the back of their pants.
Oh, okay. So they didn't shove it up their butt.
It's not that kind of video.
Oh, it could be. It's the 60s. It was the style of the time, you understand.
No, it wasn't. All right. So the only other costume element they have, other than these tails, because they're otherwise normal people, is that they have monkey masks on. Grotesque monkey masks. They live rotting, scary, skeletal monkey mask. These things are scary. You show this video to a 6-year-old and he will cry himself to sleep that night.
Yeah, this is before the times when they invented modern mask-making technologies. Things like rubber and latex and all that shit.
I mean, they're kind of like melded with the people's faces, but they're all wrinkly all over and scary looking. And they're really big, so their mouths stick way out, and they're grinning like the Joker. And in addition, their eyes are really, really sunk, because it's just the actor's eyes in the back. So it's like they're like zombie skeleton monkeys. And their facial expressions don't change, and they're moving this kind of pantomime way. And this is some scary shit.
It sure is.
And then one by one, all of them die in horrible ways.
Riding their bicycles, of course, because it's a bike safety video.
Yeah, like one doesn't signal, and then he gets hit by a car. And then one doesn't see a stop sign, and she gets hit by a bigger car. One rides on the wrong side of the road, gets run over by a steamroller. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Now, the plot is that they all have their lunch. All of them have a little lunch bag with their name on it. And every time they're all riding along, and one guy has all the lunches in his bike. Because he's the fat kid, I guess. Or he's going to be the fat kid because he's got all these lunches.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all riding, and every time one dies, it cuts to the lunch bag with the name. And it says something like, "Little Billy should have paid attention. I'll bet he wishes he had, but he doesn't have a second." Stuff like that. And it finally gets to the end, and all the monkeys are dead except for the one who had all the lunches.
Well, the one who is a human.
Well, you see, that's the twist.
Oh.
You get to the end, and they don't show you the last one's face. All the shots are from the back. And, now he's got everyone's lunches because all the other monkeys died. And then you find out he's actually a human because he was smart enough to follow all the bike safety rules, and as a result, he didn't die a horrible death. Though he doesn't seem terribly put off by the fact that all of his skeleton zombie monkey friends are dead again.
Well, apparently they were all idiots, so he was kind of glad they died. Now he's got all their lunches.
You don't have to watch the whole thing. Just look at these disturbing costumes. God damn.
Yeah, that's the reason we described the whole thing, is so you just look at the costumes and move on.
God
If you watch
damn.
the whole thing, you'll be frightened beyond belief.
These things are really creepy. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. Okay, so my thing of the day is totally unrelated in every possible way. There's a dude in Germany. He is known as the train rider or the train surfer. And what he did is he would jump on the back of a bullet train. Now, you got to understand, a bullet train goes about 200 miles an hour when it's going. So I think I don't know if that's the top speed or the average speed, but it goes really fast, faster than any roller coaster you're ever going to go on. And he had this wicked powerful suction cup, super powerful, with a handle on it. and he would attach it to the rear window of the train right before the train started going.
Like, just before it goes, he kind of runs up, goes hop, 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 shoot.
And he suction cups to the back window of the train, and he has a rope tied to him and tied to the handle. And he rides the back of the train as it goes. And it's super crazy. Now, the twist, I don't know, it's not a good twist, really, is that the reason the dude was doing these daring stunts is because he had leukemia and he was going to die. So he spent the last year of his life doing crazy shit, riding the backs of trains at crazy high speed.
Now, aside from the fact that this video is absolutely amazing, I can't imagine the thrill of what that man was doing.
God, it's like the only thing faster than...
that kid was younger than us.
He was. He was born 3 years after us, and he died last year.
Well, this year.
Yeah, right. It'll soon be last year.
We got some time.
Yeah. Either way...
I gotta say, this guy really embodies almost everything I live for, because he knew he was going to die. His life was over. There's nothing that could be done. And instead of moping about it, or whining about it, or wasting his last days, he decided to live as awesome of a life as he could for as long as he could, doing as many dangerous and amazing things that... Because he didn't care. He had nothing to lose. So he figured he might as well just go all out.
And go all out he did, just like Captain Jack.
I have a lot of respect for this guy and for Captain Jack.
This guy's about the same as Captain Jack. He's, in the same page in my book. Guy who was living a crazy lifestyle and died living the crazy lifestyle of awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not much you can do on Earth to go that fast. I mean, drive an F1 car, drive some other crazy car.
Jump out of an airplane without a parachute.
We go 200 miles an hour?
I think so, if you're wearing the right kind of clothes.
What's the terminal velocity?
I don't know, and I don't feel like looking it up.
Me either.
Maybe one of our listeners will.
Yeah. There's not much you can do to get that thrill, especially not for so low a price as buying a suction cup.
Yeah, and some rope. He had some rope.
Oh, some rope.
He also had a little mask on his face.
Oh, he had like a bandana to keep his face from getting burned up or hit by bugs and shit, I guess.
Probably, worried about wind shear and all that.
Yeah, that too. He had a little hoodie.
But really, this video is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Way to go, guy. Rest in peace, I guess.
So tonight, kind of out of the blue, we have decided to review an old classic, probably...
An old classic from the 90s.
An old classic from our days at RIT. One of the, in my opinion, best anime ever made. It's in my personal top 5, and I would put it in a semi-objective top 10 or 20, easily.
Yeah, probably.
It's a really freaking good show that has a lot going for it.
It's not as good as, the greats, but it's definitely better than all the average shows, putting it up there on the awesome list.
I mean, really, in terms of maybe not best, but definitely my favorite, not favorite in the sense of, my favorite shows that speak to me, like Utena and Captain Tyler and all that. But my, top 5 list would definitely be, in no particular order, Cowboy Bebop, Escaflowne, Evangelion, Trigun, and usually the 5th spot is whatever show I liked most recently.
Yeah. So, Trigun. Let's see. We got a lot of stuff to say about Trigun. We've both seen the whole show. I've read a lot of the manga, but not all of it.
I've read enough of the manga.
You don't need to read much of the manga. We'll talk about that later. I met the guy who created Trigun.
Naito?
Yeah, Yasuhiro Naito. Yeah, lots of stuff.
So we'll talk a bit about the origin of Trigun, and we'll just kind of go from there. I mean, it was originally a manga by Naito.
Mm-hmm. And, okay, there's a trick with the manga. It was originally a manga by Naito published in one magazine, and then that magazine got canceled. So then he restarted Trigun in another magazine, but he called it Trigun Maximum. And that's why if you try to buy the manga, there's like 2 volumes that are like the gold and the silver volumes. That's the original deal. Then there's Trigun Maximum, which comes after that.
Now, I'll say pretty much straight up, don't bother with the manga. I'm really serious.
If you're really curious, you can get the gold and the silver, whatever, but don't bother with Trigun Maximum unless you're crazy.
I mean, you'll learn a lot, because there are elements of the show that were kind of glossed over or altered, and by reading the manga, or at least flipping through the manga, you can fill in a lot of the details as to what was specifically actually going on.
Yep.
But the manga itself, much like the Sailor Moon manga, is not incomprehensible. It's fucking incomprehensible.
Oh, it is totally impossible to understand what the hell is going on in parts of the manga.
It's just there's panels and there's stuff in them, and I can't for the life of me figure out what's actually going on. And I would go 10 pages at a time, not even knowing who was in the scene, let alone what was happening.
Yeah, you'll see like a fight scene, right? And the fight scene will be, say, 3 pages, and each panel will have someone shooting, someone getting shot, someone hitting someone with something, but you can't tell where they are. You can't tell who's fighting who's on what side, especially if it's more than a 2-sided fight. You can't tell who just hit who with what. It's totally crazy. And then you basically have to skip over it. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but you skip over it, get to the end of the fight, and then you're like, okay, what just happened?
Yeah, and then there's the one guy who was made of midgets.
Yeah, it's really just out of control. If you like the anime and you really want to read the manga, no, don't read Trigun Maximum. Just get the gold and the silver if you're going to get anything at all.
Get the manga if you're a Trigun nut. If you're the
Yeah.
kind of person who would say Trigun is my favorite anime ever, buy the manga.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm serious. It's probably okay to skip this. You're not missing much.
Yeah, I'm just saying the gold and the silver volumes are like 50% craziness, and the maximum is the 100% craziness.
It's maximum crazy.
That's why they changed the name like that.
So when we talk, the basic story is pretty much the same, but we're going to talk about it almost entirely from the perspective of the anime, because that's what makes Trigun shine. To me, Trigun was a mediocre manga that was somehow miraculously turned into a very amazing anime.
Yeah, well, because the characters and the basic plot of the manga are really, really good. The thing is, the specific way things turn out in the manga, and the order in which and the order and timing of when things are revealed and when things happen isn't so good. And there's a lot of extra characters that are useless or silly or just pointless.
Yeah, the anime also goes to great lengths to kind of condense the plot, make it sensible, take out elements of the story that were usually kind of gratuitous or stupid, and replace them with really meaningful or elucidating stuff.
Yeah, it's like in the manga, there'll be stuff that you just know all the time, but then in the anime, they'll reveal this stuff to you like way near the end, like, oh. So it's a totally different thing, even though what's happening is the same. You get a totally different effect.
Now, because of that, I normally wouldn't really mention anyone other than the director when I talk about an anime, but Yosuke Kuroda, who wrote or at least he did the script for the Trigun anime, did a pretty phenomenal job, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think he is one of the big points in making this shine. And if you look, I'm not going to list it, but he wrote scripts and did screenplays for a whole boatload of anime.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the director of Trigun, it's kind of weird that this guy has done basically nothing else of note whatsoever. He's just some useless... Well, he's not completely useless.
Satoshi Nishimura?
Yeah, he's basically done nothing. He's directed one other thing that no one cares about, and he did storyboards and key animations there. But somehow he was the director of Trigun, and he did a good job.
But also, Naito, who wrote Trigun, the only other thing he's done is more Trigun and Gungrave.
Yeah, Yasuhiro Naito, the only things he's done in his life are create the Trigun manga, he helped design stuff for the Gungrave video game, and he helped design stuff for the Gungrave anime. That's all he's ever done.
Well, he went to Otakon and shook your hand.
Yep, I met him at Otakon. He's a quiet Japanese dude who doesn't know English.
Now, Trigun is also one of those kind of deceptive shows. If you start watching it, because at least a lot of people have different tests, but back in the day when we were at RIT, the test of any show was 4 episodes or the first DVD, whichever was longer. And the first 4 episodes of Trigun are very different from the rest of the show. The show starts out very lighthearted and gets progressively darker and darker and darker and darker, and it just doesn't stop getting darker. And it gets really preachy and serious, but in a good way. And there's a lot to it that if you just saw the first few episodes, you'd have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, the basic premise of Trigun is that there's this guy. Well, there's these 2 insurance agents, and there's one girl who's Millie, and the other one is...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I forget their names.
We'll talk
because
about...
It's been a while.
We'll talk about a lot of these things when we do the Trigun spoilers episode, because I have a lot to say about Trigun that I can't tonight.
Yeah, I'm only doing the basics, the setup here. Is you have these 2 insurance agents, and there's an outlaw named Vash the Stampede. Anyone who says Vash, come over to my house. I'll kick you in the nuts.
Now, he has many nicknames, including the humanoid typhoon.
Yep. Now, no one knows who this guy is, but supposedly he like destroys cities and he's just a crazy, most dangerous man alive. No one can take him.
The insurance agents are looking for him because they work for an insurance company that's taking a bath on his damage.
Yeah, so what they want to do is supposedly these are two badass insurance agents, sort of like Master Keaton of the olden days, and they are going to find him and prevent him from causing more damage to keep the insurance company in business.
Or at least document the damages he causes.
Yep, that way if anyone tries to make a claim saying it was Vosh the Stampede when it wasn't, the insurance company won't have to pay out.
Now, Vosh the Stampede, you can guess who he is in the show, and everyone knows who he is because Vosh is a very iconic anime character these days. You see at least 10 or 15 Vosh cosplayers at any major anime con.
It's one of those obvious secrets where in the first episode, there's a crazy guy wearing a long red trench coat, and he has this yellow spiky hair, and he's obviously really important, but he acts like a total doofus, and he doesn't say who he is, and you totally, being a viewer, you know he's Vosh the Stampede. You just know. That's not a spoiler. You fucking know. Unless you're an idiot. But they never tell you for sure. So you're only ever 99% sure until, like, the 5th or 6th episode.
Yeah, seriously, for the first few episodes, it really is kind of a plot thing of, is he really Vosh the Stampede, or is he just pretending to be Vosh the Stampede? There is a lot of evidence, until you see more, that yeah, he's just some guy pretending to get free money and free donuts and stuff.
Yeah, this is sort of why you want to watch the anime and ignore the manga, because if you see the manga doesn't do that. The manga is just like, here is Vosh the Stampede. It's sort of boring. But the anime does something like that, holding information from you. You know?
So yeah, the insurance agents find this guy. They're not sure if he's Vosh or not at all.
No,
so
they have no idea.
They follow him around because they have nowhere else to go, and this is the best lead they've got, and maybe this will draw Vosh out, and they have hilarious adventures.
Yep. And now, it's Monster of the Week for a little while. You know, go someplace new, there's a bad guy, they get out of a tough situation. Go someplace new, there's a bad guy, they get out of a tough situation.
Now, the other operative thing here is that aside from all that, Vosh has, a $60 billion double dollar
bounty
on his head.
So people, if they find out who Vosh the Stampede is, they immediately want to arrest him and bring him in to get $60 billion double dollar.
So pretty much everyone in the world is after Vosh the Stampede. And if this guy really is Vosh the Stampede, he's really kind of a doofus. But yet, not really. We talked about Master Keaton, and Master Keaton was kind of a doofus, but he was actually badass. Or irresponsible Captain Tyler, who was kind of a doofus, but he was actually really badass. Yeah. Yo.
Yeah. Captain Tyler was more of a badass by accident, whereas Vosh the Stampede is clearly badass not by accident.
Well, early on, it's not 100% obvious.
Yeah, that's another thing is they don't let you on, but then you know.
Like something will happen. Even in the first episode, so a couple things happen, and you wonder, did he do that on purpose, or did that just happen? Mm-hmm. Was that important or not? I can't tell.
Yep, another thing, in Trigun, he has a gun, and it's like this big freaking giant gun, this big-ass revolver, and he doesn't use it at all until, like, many, many episodes in. Like, I think in the 5th episode he uses it. I don't even remember. You totally, like, wonder, hey, that guy hasn't used his gun, and they make note of it. And then when he finally uses it, it's like, whoa, he used it. Holy crap.
Now, we've talked a bit about, the quote-unquote plot of Trigun.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what the actual plot is, as far as I can go without spoiling things. Vosh the Stampede is a semi-superhuman badass. There is something up with his past that makes him incredibly badass, which becomes more and more apparent as the show goes on. He is also 100% committed unto death, a pacifist. He will not kill anyone for any reason ever.
He won't even kill animals or anything.
He is more opposed to death and suicide and murder than he is to anything, to the point that he would rather take a bullet from someone trying to kill him than even risk hurting someone to the point that they would die.
Yeah, he has no problems hurting people to prevent them from killing. He has no problem damaging property either. You know, if he can knock down a building to save one life, he'll just do it in a second. Like, boom, there's the building. It's knocked down.
Now,
he doesn't care.
Following this concept and everything we've told you, this sounds like a romp. You've got this badass guy with a gun.
He could just kill everyone if he wanted to.
Who's afraid to kill anyone. As a result, he gets into these really bad situations and hilarity ensues. You've got these insurance agents. You've got this bounty. You've got all these crazy characters in this world all over the place going after Vaj, going after each other, blowing stuff up. It's absolutely hilarious and crazy.
Yeah, because you see him get stuck in a hostage situation, and this crazy killer's coming in with crazy weapons and rockets and guns, and he's got to find a way to stop them from killing anyone without killing them. Because if he wanted to, he could just shoot them all. But no, he's got to do it in some clever and crazy way, and that's what makes every episode of the show awesome.
Now,
is regardless of the overall plot, you have this incredibly interesting Monster of the Week solution to find out.
Now, after a few episodes,
even though they're hardly ever monsters.
Because it doesn't take that long, the show fairly quickly takes a very dramatic turn, and it starts hinting at it bit by bit. He meets this priest named Wolfwood, who, for various reasons, is a gunslinger like Vaj, but unlike Vaj, is not a pacifist, and he's a good man, but he will kill people to save other people.
Mm-hmm.
And all these other characters come and go, but there's a point at which the show very suddenly and very dramatically takes a turn from which it never recovers.
Yeah, it's a 26-episode show. And in the 17th episode, they reveal to you basically everything. Like, you'll start the episode 17, and you will not realize this is an episode of Trigun. You'll say, hey, what's wrong? This doesn't look like Trigun to me. And then it is, and you go, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 points I really want to talk about, because these are kind of the 2 linchpins where you start to think. The first one, you think, wow, this show isn't really what I expected. And then the second point where you don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Because it's silly and silly and silly. And then he gets on this train, this land train. It's kind of like a cruise ship or a train, but it goes over the desert.
It's more like a cruise ship that doesn't have tracks, and it goes across the desert.
Yeah, but it's it's kind of hard to control and all this, whatever. It's this big thing. Think the Titanic in a desert. And he's on it, and simultaneously this terrorist thief guy, Dynamite, Neon something...
Dynamo, whatever his name is.
The hell
He's
his name
awesome
is.
regardless.
This crazy terrorist thief guy hijacks it to try to get all the money, basically rob it.
Out of the safe. There's a big safe on the thing,
And he
full
can't
of gold.
open the safe, so he decides he's going to turn the engines all the way up, hold everyone hostage, ram this thing into the wall of a cliff, thus busting it up, killing everyone on it, opening the giant safe, and then he can loot it at his leisure. Now, you think, all right, Vaj is going to fight this crazy guy all on his own, and he meets this little kid, and there's going to be this all sort of hilarious fight. But the thing is, as he's trying to save these people, he gets in situations where, a guard or one of these hijackers is there, and the easy solution would be just kill him, and everything would be fine. But he hesitates. He won't kill. In fact, at one point, he accidentally shoots one of them and wastes time sitting there, bandaging them and trying to do everything he can to make sure they don't die. And he gets shot a couple times because he's so averse to killing that he really can't do this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ruin what happens in the fight. It's probably obvious that he doesn't die because he's in pretty much the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
But the show starts taking a turn. You start seeing that, wow, his lifestyle of being a pacifist gunfighter really isn't working out so well and isn't so easy.
Nope. The other thing about Trigun that's really interesting and awesome is the setting. The setting is badass. What you've got, basically, is a giant desert Wild West world. But there's a bit of more modern technology, sort of steampunkish, sort of electricity, sort of...
Yeah, there's a lot of old, lost technology. You get a very long past post-apocalyptic setting.
Yeah, and you see these giant light bulbs everywhere, and they start referring to them, and apparently you realize that these giant light bulbs are where all the stuff comes from to maintain human life, because there's no water or anything, it all comes from these giant light bulbs.
Yeah, and people find old technology and adapt it, and there's kind of this mishmash of ancient, misunderstood, but very powerful technology, and the piddly crap that humans have actually been able to come with since whatever apocalypse happened long ago.
Yeah, it's mostly Wild West, and then you'll see like a giant crazy gun that shoots whacked out stun bolt
And you'll
things.
start picking up along the way that Vosh seems to know a lot about this technology from the ancient past.
a lot more than other people do.
And he also has some of it.
Yeah.
That he'll do things that seem like magic, and then people notice that he's got this technology that might as well be magic as far as anyone else is concerned.
Yeah. It's just really interesting setting because it's post-apocalyptic, western, desert, steampunk technology. Way cool.
Now, I said that the show has 2 points where it takes turns, and I already kind of talked about the first one. Now, up until this point, anyone who has actually opposed Vosh or tried to hurt him or hurt people around him has been very swiftly dispatched. Vosh just steamrollers through anyone.
It's sort of like Initial D where he wins, he wins, he wins, he wins, he wins.
And then there's an episode near the middle where a guy, not to reveal any story, but there is a man who goes to a city and starts indiscriminately killing people. Left and right, murdering people in cold blood.
Oh, yeah, that part.
And Vosh is trying to save these people, and he can't. People are dying, and there's almost nothing he can do. He's doing everything he can to get out of this city, and the guy realizes that the best way to draw Vosh out is just to start murdering people. And then Vosh loses it, and there's this scene where Vosh takes this guy out, and he's got him on the ground, and he's got a gun in his mouth, and Vosh, you can see that he wants to pull the trigger. He really wants to pull the trigger. And he's just screaming over and over again, "You killed them. They're dead. They can't come back. I should kill you. There's no reason why I shouldn't kill you." And this scene it might sound silly, especially as silly as the show may sound, but starting at this point, that is a chilling scene.
I think that's like episode 13-ish. I don't
11, 12,
remember.
13.
Yeah.
That is one of the most chilling, like spine-tingling scenes I've seen in anime.
Yeah, so the show starts to get dark. Like, up until then, crazy stuff happens, and you get the idea of, what people's feelings are, and the characters are developed, but it hasn't actually gotten dark yet. This is, like, sudden darkness. Like there's even a scene, I think, at the end of one of the episodes where it's, like, dark, and Vosh is there with, like, these blue glowing eyes, and it's all kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it starts with this one scene. It is just, I say chilling over and over, but if you haven't seen the show before, you'll get to this point, and I almost guarantee that you'll shiver a little bit when that happens and Vosh is there with this guy and all these people are dead.
Yep.
And from there, the show becomes absolutely amazing.
Yep. Now, the ending, some people have different opinions of the ending. It really depends on what you wanted to happen and what did happen.
Well, there's also, there are several kind of plot linchpins near the end of the show where, I can't ruin this at all.
No.
I will say that there is a scene in the show. It is famous among the front row crew because we watched all of Trigun as like 320 by 200 real video fan subs with separate subtitle tracks in Scott's dorm room.
A long time ago.
And there is an episode where a character dies.
Mm-hmm.
A character dies, and it is widely regarded among anime fans as one of the most well-written and well-acted death scenes in the history of anime. I'm sure Anime World Order will come up with other ones, but I don't think anyone can disagree with me that this is a very, very well-done death scene.
The thing is, I don't think it happens that way in the manga.
Whatever.
Yeah,
but
it's way different.
Forget the manga.
Yeah, forget it.
But we're all guys. Like, you're manly freshmen in college. The world is our oyster, and we're at a tech school, and we're all standing around, and we all know each other, but we're not really close friends yet. The front row crew is burgeoning. It hasn't quite blossomed yet. And we're all standing there, and this scene happens, and everyone's just kind of really quiet. And finally, I think someone turns to me, and I look, and I see that they've got tears in their eyes, and I've got tears in my eyes. We were all crying. We were all seriously crying and trying to hide it from each other. And then we all realized that we were all crying, and then we all started crying.
That's what happens.
And then I think your roommate was in the room, or he walked in, and he was just like, "What?
Yeah.
Fuck."
He was just a soccer dude.
Yeah, but he walks in, and all these guys watching this tiny cartoon and crying their eyes out.
Yep.
But to this day, if I even hear the song that plays during that death scene, I get kind of emotional. I tear up a little bit. That's a really powerful scene.
Dun, dun, dun.
The show really, the issues at stake are actually very simple. It has to do with what motivates people to live, what motivates people to kill. Is killing right? Is it ever morally acceptable to kill someone? And you keep, like, Vash will be put in more and more situations. I could kill this one person to save this one person. I could kill this one person to save these 10 people. I could kill this one person to save every other human being on this planet.
Yep.
And Vash is a pacifist. He does not want to kill. And this is a very difficult and almost untenable position. And
the big metaphor they use the whole show is like, should you kill the spider to save, the fly that's caught in its web? Or should you not,
Yeah,
Ooh.
which is made to very stupid melodramatic effect in an otherwise very popular anime music video done to this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those videos that ends with a bunch of text like blah
if
blah
that
blah.
video,
blah.
if that music video took out its text captions, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But the show really gets into a lot of very deep issues and doesn't give you easy answers. A lot of shows will pose a question like, is it okay to kill? Or
yeah, like a Gundam show. A Gundam show will say, is it, should you protect your friends and shoot at your other friends? And at the end, it says, no, everyone gets along and war is bad.
Yeah, I mean, the morals are very simple. Or even if they're complex, a lot of shows tend to give you a very direct answer at the end. Like,
Even if you don't like the answer, they might give you an answer you disagree with, but they give you an answer that is the opinion of the creators.
Trigun's answers are very up in the air, very half and half, and very uncomfortable.
I think that's sort of why people don't like the ending so much.
I mean,
Because it's not a solid, here's the answer, yay, it's...
I mean, depending on how you look at it, the show says two very, very important and controversial things that are directly opposed. It says that you shouldn't ever kill ever, and that killing another sentient being is never the answer to a problem. And at the same time, it is saying that that position is entirely untenable and will cause far more suffering in the world than killing a single person could ever do.
Yep.
And it doesn't really say which way is the right way.
Dun dun dun.
I have my opinion as to what it's saying. I can't back that up without spoiling the entire show.
Or asking some Japanese people. See, I think that's part of what makes the anime so cool is that it's basically they took the characters and the setting from this manga. And the manga had none of this message. I mean, you might be able to say it does, but it fucking doesn't. It's just action and whatever, Wild West.
The manga is gunslingers shooting
It's
each
Wild
other.
West steampunk craziness, God knows. And then they somehow take those characters and redesign them a little bit. And they take the setting and they simplify it a bit. And they take the part of the plot and a few of the, one-off little separate storylines in the manga. Like, a few of the early episodes are actually sort of like just single chapters from the manga expanded to a 20-something minute episode, And they somehow take all that and they add so much to it and shift it around into something that actually doesn't suck. Usually, people will take like a great manga and they'll either make like a direct translation to an anime or they'll leave stuff out in the anime or they'll change it in the anime and it doesn't turn out as well. The only other example I can think of that does it as nicely as Trigun is Initial D, where they change the order of like a bunch of the races for the first season of the anime to actually increase the dramatic effect instead of decrease it.
So if you've never seen Trigun, or if you stopped watching it after the first 4 episodes seemed like just a generic comedy, I highly recommend just watch the first 12 or 13 episodes. It's not that hard to get a hold of them. You can Netflix it. You can buy it super cheap.
Yeah, you could buy this thing super cheap now. Genion, I think, is still putting it out. And they have like super special, cheapo, like anime watchers' choice DVDs that are stupid cheap.
I can't recommend this show highly enough. It is dead seriously one of my top 5 anime, and I don't think anyone can watch this show without at least tearing up a little bit.
No, not the whole thing.
Yeah, not the whole thing.
Oh, you could be a cruel, heartless bastard. Or you could have seen it already, and then it probably won't work on you.
Yeah, or someone could have spoiled a bunch of things for you.
Oh, it says, let's see. Looking on Amazon, you can get the whole thing for $70. That's a little bit steep.
Yeah, I'd Netflix it, if anything.
Yeah, Netflix is definitely a way to go because another thing is, even if you don't like the serious part of the show, the first 4 episodes are really funny. Like, there's a lot of hilarity going on early in the show. Just joke after joke of, crazy stuff happening. As this guy's acting like a doofus and doing wacky shit to get out of crazy situations, but the bad guys are all like comically strange.
It's like Miss
ways.
Critical Moment, only with a gun.
Yeah. It's very funny, especially a lot of the supporting cast is comical early on.
Just remember that the show is not all that it seems, and you will very quickly be drawn into a very deep, very complex discussion on the nature of pacifism and life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, if you watch long enough, the show is hard science fiction. That's all I'm going to say, because to do anything else would spoil a lot. In the future, we are going to do another episode on Trigun where we'll talk about all the spoiler points, because I have very specific views on what this show was about and what I think it was trying to say, and I would really like to talk about that.
Well, you'll get your chance someday.
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 But I want to give all of our listeners a chance to watch the show, because while I sometimes agree with Dave and Joel's Fast Karate for the Gentleman statute of limitations on spoilers, at the same time, it's not worth it to spoil the show for anyone. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.